everyone. Welcome back to Ethereal Material, where the mystical meets the practical.
We're Carla and Priscilla, two practical evidential mediums, talking and discussing about the gap between the seen and the unseen.
And we're not afraid to talk about anything. Every topic is on the table. And today, I think we really want to talk about some of our frustrations. We're writing a book. The working title is, can I say it?
Go ahead.
Shit our clients say. Because we're despite our active role as educators about mediumship, we still come face to face with people who just make fun of our work, or so maybe we should call it shit people say, as opposed to, because
Yeah,
it's
the
not
clients,
just our
and we
clients.
don't, yeah,
Our
we don't
clients
give
usually,
away clients
right,
or
our
anything.
clients are on board
It
with.
was inspired by the fact that the stuff that people say to us, but it's everyday life being a medium, which between us is decades upon decades. I
Yeah.
know, all respect to people starting this career, and you're new to it. We were new to it at one time, but
Mhm.
we're not new to it. So I personally ebbed and flowed on how I reacted to people's responses, whether it was in my kids' schools,
Mhm.
doctors. I cannot even with that. So, and now, I just marked my 16th year
Mhm.
of mediumship, reading since 93, and you've done it
Wow.
longer than I have.
Yeah.
So my perspective and how I react has grown and changed, but walking through life like us, I think we need to just share it, because it's not like, oh, what do you do? I'm a lawyer, I'm an accountant, I'm in media. You don't get a
Yeah.
lot of this.
Yeah. I don't really tell people
I
I
backed
don't
up.
tell strangers what I do. Um,
I used to.
I but if I have let it slip, I go to get a certain, procedural thing done. Well, I'll just say to get my blood drawn regularly, like probably everybody does, for years. And I've been going to a couple of different places, and I haven't gone back to this original place in a long time. And I know this person isn't listening to our podcast, so I feel that their identity is completely safe, but remembers that I was a psychic. So I'm getting jabbed, and he starts telling me about, I'm going on a date. Do you think this is the person? And do you think that she's the one I'm going to marry? And I'm like, ow, 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 because I mean, because I just was like, not that vein. I don't have great veins. I mean, here we go. Like here, I've been stabbed 3 times this morning.
Oh
So
my gosh.
so it's just like, boundaries, please. I can imagine, although this is completely different, what it must be like to be an actor who is well known,
Oh.
or even someone who's a medical
Well, I
professional.
was going to say,
Like, hey,
doctor
doc, let me
probably
take you
gets
aside at the
questions every
dinner
2 minutes,
party.
but they're not challenged as much
Yeah.
as we are.
Yeah.
I had a blood draw guy do that to me extensively.
Did you really?
Yes, like a year ago.
Maybe it's the same guy,
I
and
doubt it.
he's a little bit,
Was yours a guy?
I was a guy. Yeah.
We'll have to talk later about this.
Yeah.
I couldn't.
And he's probably intuitive enough himself.
Did his mother do stuff like this? Because this guy told.
I think
I
so.
can't. We're going to talk. See, there's a coincidence right there. That's crazy.
Our last podcast
All right.
was on
All
coincidence.
right, I'm writing this down, blood guy, to find out. I don't know his
blood.
name, but we'll discuss.
I don't know. I haven't been back
I
to
don't
that
know.
lab because
We're
my
gonna talk
insurance
about it.
changed for this year. So I'm not on my regular insurance thing that I've been on for 15 years. So I'm
Okay.
back to this guy. He's still doing it in the same
We're
place.
discussing it. Okay.
I sort of recognized him, but he remembered what I did. So
They do.
yeah.
People remember. And years
And
ago,
they'll push boundaries. It's crazy.
they put,
It's
well,
like,
you've got the boundary pushers. And I
mm,
get it. I don't mind if somebody is, oh, that's really interesting, or wow. And even if you don't believe in it, when there's a respect,
yeah.
but it's the other stuff that I guess I'm just so old now, it doesn't affect me. When I first started, it did kind of affect me. People would kind of laugh and do whatever, and I guess I felt a little prickly by it, and I would defend. I would say, well, how did the earth form? Someone said I remember this at a dinner, the Big Bang Theory. I said, and where'd that start from?
Mm.
And shut him up, I have to say. But I engaged. Where now I don't say anything. I actually often say, not because I'm embarrassed, because I'm too old and I'm too tired, and I don't want it to affect whatever event I'm at, or blood draw, or a doctor,
Right.
to affect your view of me. So I will say spiritual counseling, which I do, coaching. It's not a lie. But, it is, besides the ever popular, hi, I'm Carla, and your name is, well, don't you know?
Yeah. I love that
That's
one.
if I had $100 bill for every time someone said it to me, I'd be doing okay with some stuff, you know,
How about
because
this one? How many kids do I have? My response is you don't know how many children.
oh, that's good.
If you don't know how many children you have, you
Then
should
I
not be
don't
going to a
know.
psychic. You should probably go get some neurological exam or whatever. I don't know what.
Oh my God, I'm trying to think of, I went to a doctor and I had gone to, and you could tell he was a very, well, he was a neurologist. He was a very left brain logical thinker, obviously, because people like you and I are not neurologists.
Mm.
But he had complete inability to go out of the box. And
Mm.
I knew not to tell this individual anything I did. Because he had a snippy attitude with a dig at him.
Yeah, the arrogance doesn't help.
And there was a whole, and I could have been his mother. You know,
Mm.
in my head, I called him Doogie Howser because I was like, you need to have some respect here. And I held back for several, like 3 visits, you know, discuss this, go over this, don't know what's wrong with you because God forbid anyone could figure me out. And finally he said, well, what is it that you do? And after 3 visits, I was like, all right, I'm going to broach this. Well, I tell him, he takes his chair, he kicks it back, laughs arrogantly in my face and is like, you do with the attitude, the whole thing. Now, meanwhile, I'm compromised. I'm in there trying to get help, and you're being an ass.
Yeah.
So I have to hold back from just walking out.
Yeah.
And he's like, you do cold readings, which is interesting that he knew the term cold readings. So I say yes, and I put my hand up. I say, but my definition of a cold reading is not yours. How he knew that? I said, I say a cold reading is walk me into a room in an event or private reading and tell me nothing and let me go in cold.
Yeah. Right.
Not like, oh, who's the man around you that loves you?
Someone with an M.
Yeah. I see an old man here named John. No, you're not getting that from me on any level. So I told him that. I said, no, I can just do blah, 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 blah. And he went on to laugh and go on. I'm thinking, what are you making per hour to do this to me? And then he says, you can't tell anybody any of this. They won't believe anything. Meanwhile, he couldn't figure out anything about me. They won't believe anything about you. You can't tell them. Then he told me not to tell them my health history. Did not tell them anything. I mean, and I was compromised. It wasn't good. He really, as you can see, I'm still talking about it. He really messed me up.
Yeah.
So I don't say anything now. The fact that he did that was horrible.
And I think people in any new age profession have to, take a joke a lot more
Yeah.
or be prepared to be bullied a lot more than your average profession. And that's just because I think it freaks people out.
Scares
And
them.
they can't understand it. I mean, I remember I was at a business expo when I first moved to town. I was networking with the Chamber of Commerce. And so we had been renting out like a hotel, conference room, and we all had our little tables and stuff. And I remember the county legislator, who I knew. I had met on a number of occasions because I was dating another county legislator um, at the time. And this guy comes in all bluster and buffoonery. And he picks up my card and he laughs derisively and he goes, "You can make a living out of this." And he tosses it down on the table. Meanwhile, there's all these people around. I mean, he is a respected and well-known man in the community. And I was mortified. I mean, this was 20 years ago, so I didn't have the, what I needed to respond.
Of course.
But afterwards, I told him that I thought that was really unkind, childish and
mean.
unkind, and so anyway, but I think people in or anybody who wants to talk about an experience that they have that isn't observable by any subjective experience, whether it's a dream, an intuition, a coincidence, if it's a subjective experience, even to ourselves, we dismiss it. That's our first
that's the
order
thing.
of business. The conscious mind doesn't want to deal, the rational mind doesn't want to deal with non-rational stuff. So we deflect, dismiss, invalidate, belittle, and we do it to ourselves. Like, oh, I'm just making that up.
That's true. We do.
Or we suppress it to be polite,
I'm circling back to this guy and even the doctor types because I find that I understand if you're very analytical, but see, I'm a little bit all over. To me, if you're very analytical or very scientific, you would put some stock into this because you would know quantum physics or have a premise on it. But people, to me, in my experience, man or woman, I've seen it more aggressively with men, although once you can give real evidence to a man, they're very, very respectful. I've had that. At least I found that. But when you threaten someone, so someone who's guilty of something, someone who's done something insecure, mommy issues, not knocking it, people have them, but stuff, they get put in front of someone like us, even at a party, and they have to go into the defense because
Yeah.
they're afraid. What are we going to start saying? So I'm thinking you're having an affair.
Right, right.
We're not. We're not working. And I don't walk around, and it's a fair question. People will say to me nicely, do you get stuff all the time? And I say, no. Questions like this don't bother me.
Yeah.
Mature, inquisitive inquiries are
Yeah, sure.
fine. But doing what we do, I have to tell you, I'm not, crying the blues here. But as a mother, with my kids were little, people would be like in awe of what I did, and then they'd panic. So Carla wasn't always invited to everything.
Sure.
And trust me, when we'd all get together with the moms a long time ago, no one else did what I did. And the paranoia would set in, and many people were wonderful friends that I still have, but many people are scared to death of me.
And I think
Don't be.
I think
I don't care what you do.
to your point, I think a lot of people think because we're intuitives or mediums that we're reading your mind all the time. I'm not a mind reader.
No.
And
telepathy here and there when we taught it, yeah, but it's not like
that's
we're
more like,
zooming in on you.
right, exactly. So even if, someone challenged me and said, what am I thinking right now?
I wouldn't be
No
able to do
idea.
it. It's like the code word in a reading.
Right.
I have a code word. You told me my father's name, my mother's name. You told me how they died. You told me that I was in a plane crash and I broke my toe, but you didn't give me that code word.
Right.
Dude, come on.
I know.
I know, like you can see I'm a little set off and my New York's coming out a little. I do love my job and I do love questions. I do a Q&A. I do one event consistently, and at the end of it, I do a Q&A because I'm happy to share what I know. And if I don't know, I'm happy to say I have no experience in that. But again, without crying the blues, when you do what we do, it's been years of people either putting us up on pedestals, which we don't like because then you get thrown down off a pedestal pretty quickly, or laughing at us disrespectfully. And to me, if you're laughing, I don't know, I don't like it. And think about even like, say, lawyers, right? That's a disliked group of people. So if someone says they're a lawyer, I've heard people say consistently, I hate all lawyers. Oh, really? Well, when you need one, good luck with that.
Yeah, right.
So I just think it's kind of a persona and a knee-jerk reaction that not everybody has to have. I'd like to think right now of some really unusual stories. I'm drawing a blank where people have said weird stuff to us. Because the shit our people say to us is a great book.
I used to teach a self-esteem course at a women's medium security prison. I taught a 6-week course on self-esteem and preparing, and it was available to the women who were going to be paroled or early release or at the end of their sentences. And this was medium security, so we didn't have the murderers. We had the drugs and the forging checks and kind of not really not violent crime. And I remember I would let the women know, what my qualifications were. And among them I would talk about being a psychic or being a medium. And the inmates were really respectful, but the word got around, and it was the staff.
I knew you were going to say
corrections officers
I knew it.
that would stop me in the parking lot. I went in every Friday night. There was a 6-week course, and then I'd take a couple months off and then go back in. So the word got around among the staff, and I could tell that some of them were quite threatened because they would say, I remember one guy in particular, it didn't really back me up against my car, but I'd gotten out of the car and shut the door, and he was right there when I turned around. And so there wasn't a lot of room with my car behind me. And he said, what can you see about me?
Oh my God.
In a kind of a threatening manner. And I just said, I'm not at work. If I'm not working, I don't see anything. And I just pushed by him, but it shook me up a little bit. So I thought, he must have something on his.
Honestly, it's the people that fear, and we don't get your whole story, even if we're working and we're in a group. I don't get your whole story. I could say you actually did a crime and say you held up someplace. I might say, do you understand why I see a gun? Are you
Mhm.
do you do shooting or whatever? I'm not going to see the whole scenario. I don't get it. I'll get an image,
Yeah.
or I might see this the store or something like that. I
So
don't.
for those people who are involved in a life of crime, if you go to a psychic, ask him or her to focus on specific things.
Yeah, right.
Because
Like,
we don't get, it's not like we get a
no.
download of all of your mistakes and all of your sins and all of your, misapplied energy or the times you cheated or lied, or we just don't. It's just usually we're tuning in with insight about your present or what might be going on into the future. Or if you want, what's the origins of something that happened in the past. But we don't, we're not getting your rap sheet when we're tuning into you. Certainly not. We don't get your social calendar. We don't get who all your friends are. It's just really only because that's a vast body of information. Like if you sat down across from someone that you first met at a dinner table and you had, I mean, you couldn't have all of their experiences available to you anyway. Like we're still, we still are limited in what we're focusing on. Of course, there's a vast field of information about you, about me, about you. It can never all come through. It can never be so comprehensive that I mean, even people I've known and loved intimately in my life, I still don't know everything about
Oh,
them.
right.
So
And we're
why
not
would we know
supposed to.
everything about you? Yeah.
I'm trying to think about the wise things people have said to us, wise guy things.
Yeah. Oh my God, they've been.
I mean, the
Oh, I've had
laughter
that's
and
the
the snickering
snarkiness
is,
and
yeah, is just beyond. But the weird thing is, and I mean this, you'd have to actually aggravate me now in a weird way for me to get upset because, and I tell people, if you don't believe in what I do, I actually don't care.
yeah.
And I don't say it in a defense like I don't care. That could have been when I was younger. Why would I care whether you believe in what I do?
Mm.
Unless you're affecting me and in a group and heckling me, and then
Right.
I will pay no attention or you will be asked to leave,
Right.
it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Let's just have a good time. And if you're coming to me, but again, healthy skepticism, we are big fans
I
of.
love it because I'm
You should
the
be
most skeptical
healthy.
person out
We're like
there.
out of control. She was telling me a story today about somebody that read her. I'm like, oh, did you tell her
Yeah,
that?
she's
Like,
interrogating me.
I
I love it.
interrogated her. So I'm just saying that it's an interesting thing. And if you are way too skeptical, no reader, they could walk on water. They're not going to be
Yeah.
able to help you. So don't get to read it.
Yeah.
But healthy skepticism, do it and just see what happens.
And
Because
if you are a reader or an intuitive yourself, especially if you're just starting, I would recommend having a couple of stock phrases because
yeah,
people are
yes,
going to come at you
they will come
in
at
a
you
really
and try to
interruptive sort
get
of
you.
way.
That's terrible.
And so I'll have people come to me and say, I don't believe what you do. And
Okay.
okay,
Yeah, that's my
that's it. I'm
response. I'm
not,
like,
don't engage because they're looking for a fight. They're not looking to be convinced. They're looking to diminish because of their insecurities or their fear or their very strong belief systems. I remember this was so sad for me. I had been this was probably 15 years ago. Um an acquaintance invited me to her church. I was raised a Catholic, wasn't really going anymore after I got divorced. The priest in the
I was going
small
to say, but
town.
he didn't like
He,
him anymore.
the priest didn't like me anymore, told me I couldn't take communion anymore because I was divorced. So I felt not only rejected by my husband at the time, this was 30 years ago, but also, the church was like, see you later. I'm like, but I'm not the one that wants a divorce. Didn't matter. So I went back. I decided to join this woman. She said it was Episcopal. This was led by a pastor who was a woman, and she said this is a beautiful place. My acquaintance was a lesbian, is a lesbian, so she's like everybody's welcome here. I thought great. So I went to a couple services, really liked it. It was kind of like Catholic light, it was
No,
really, it was
it
nice.
can be.
And so and my acquaintance was very good friends with the minister. So the minister said to me, let's have coffee.
Mhm.
So we met at the diner, we had coffee. And now I didn't know anything about this lady.
Okay.
And she was sitting across from me in the booth. And as a medium, I never see people unless we're in a reading. Those are my rules. Those have been my
Right. I
rules
can't.
since the beginning. I don't want to see your grandmother who died of breast cancer while I'm working out at the gym. I don't want to see your dead husband while I'm in the park. But I'm sitting across from this minister. I just got my coffee. And who sits down next to her in spirit but a teenager
Mm,
who had passed away in a car accident? I'm not saying a word.
right.
So we're talking. I'm really liking her. I'm thinking to myself, she must have such great healing energy that even the spear people around her.
Okay.
And finally she asks me, so what do you do? And I like my heart just sank. I don't know
Because you know
why.
it's all going to be over.
And I told her, and she, like your surgeon, put her utensils down and pushed the chair back, did one of these,
No, the old crossed arms, yeah.
and said, you are not welcome in the church. And I said, why? And
Oh
she said,
my
because you
gosh.
won't even know if the hooks of evil are in you, because there's no one you're accountable to. And I said, God?
Yeah, God.
And I said to her, well, something like 40% of the Bible is prophecy, right? And
Yeah.
I said to her, well, Jesus said, and she goes, oh, he wasn't talking about you. Second
Holy.
time, totally rejected. I'd just gone back to church. I think I'd gone 2 or 3 weeks. So I went, I said, okay, we ended nicely. She said, you can come, you'll let me, she had been
Exercise.
exactly right, right. Cleanse me.
Oh
Um,
my
so that's good.
God.
Thank you. But, and so when my acquaintance called me the next week to say, do you want to go? I said no. And I told her why.
Oh my gosh.
And she said,
Yes.
I don't know when it must have been months later that it came up in conversation with this acquaintance. And she said, oh, this is the anniversary of the minister's, her teenage son had passed in a car accident. And I was like, I'm not the person like the Long Island medium who's going to walk
No.
up to you in your bagel shop and say this. So I never said anything, and I wasn't going to taunt her with it. Well, there was somebody next to you, it's just like,
No,
okay,
you have
this
to
is not
walk
my.
away from that.
So when I kind of went, oh, it kind of all came together at that point. But I thought, here's that could have been a great opportunity,
Yeah, it could have
and
been. And she would either have loved you or not loved you.
yeah. But I mean, to be so like a person of faith, I'm like,
Wow.
the taxpayers and the whores and the lesbians sit at your table. Why can't the psychics sit at your table? And she just was like, I will never forget the tone of her voice when I said,
Well, you will be telling me who
and
this
she
is
said
when
to
we're
me,
done.
oh, Jesus wasn't talking about you. I was like, how do you
You know,
know?
it's kind of coincidental, if you will, because I was at a client's house the other day and she had an envelope and she, collects things, saves things, and puts them in envelopes, gives them to me. We grew her, she lives much older than I. She lives in a neighboring town from where I grew up. And she handed me an envelope, and it was an article from 2005 from an Episcopal priest whose wife, deck in the 80s, was my therapist.
Huh.
Loved her. She like set the bar for everybody. I don't know whatever happened to her, but her husband was the Episcopal priest at this church. And when I would go to see her after my dad died, I would be in the church in his office.
Mm-hmm.
So recent, like last week, she hands me this thing. She's, I think you know them. And it was a whole article from the Episcopal priest, and whose wife was my therapist, like a whole small world thing, talking about how the church is haunted, how people have documented seeing this older lady, and the whole thing was his belief on how spirits are still around in the documentation for that church.
Wow.
And it was Episcopal. So this from this moment validates to me
Mm.
that maybe not all Episcopal churches feel that way.
Yeah.
Because this guy, and I remember her, I think I even gave her, the woman who was my first tarot card reader,
Mm.
I think I gave that to the therapist for her and her kids, the woman's name.
Yeah.
So that's a bad experience you had, but that was that woman holding her stuff on her and then putting it out there. That's sad. I mean, you don't get over something easily.
Right. It was very, very, it was really, I mean, I wouldn't have said that I was devout as a Catholic, but I did not want to get divorced. That wasn't in my vision of how my life was going to go. I mean, retrospectively, in hindsight, it was absolutely a good idea. My former husband and I are still great friends. Um, and but to be, sort of escorted out of a marriage and then escorted out of the church.
You built up enough like nerve, if you will, to go back to somewhere that's supposed to be all encompassing and
Right,
I mean,
right.
that's just out of control.
Right.
I could go on a lot about various religions and they're rejecting people and forget people like us rejecting everybody. I do have a little problem.
But I think you're
Love my
right that
neighbor.
it's more about the person because
it is. I think.
there are like here you have this Episcopal church, and I know we talked on our podcast about out of body experiences that I was talking about
Mm.
one of the deacons in my mom's Catholic church who is a scholar when it comes to out of body experiences and near that death experiences. And so, in the priest in the when we go to the healing mass,
Yes.
the mass of for Saint Therese talks about ancestral healing. So
Yes.
we know that these aren't maybe, necessarily faith policies, um, because they're interpreted differently by
Mhm.
each of the
Each
faith
person.
leaders.
Yeah.
So if you are a person who is intuitive and you're hesitant about sharing something that comes to you intuitively, or if you're a reader, especially if you're new in business, have a couple of those stock answers in. Try not to get offended. It'll be hard when somebody says something really snarky or belittling or dismissive, and know that in this profession or using this aspect of your sixth sense, you got to give people a wide berth. You can't be too, I mean, I don't think it's inappropriate to be sensitive about some of the remarks, but I think you have to choose what battles you're going to fight, because you're going to have a lot more
Yeah,
battles to fight as a psychic than you are as a school teacher,
yeah. I just
at least as an acceptance and
over time you grow into just it doesn't matter.
Mm.
It doesn't matter. The problems come in when it's really intentional and
Mm.
they're really, but other things just roll it off.
Yeah.
I mean, we should probably write out a whole bunch of list after list after list and do a whole podcast on the things we've heard.
Yeah.
Because that one was a topper right there,
Yeah.
what you just said.
Yeah.
I mean, that is
I mean,
just
some of them are very damaging. Others are just, you can sometimes a client will come and they're resistant, right? Or especially in a group, you'll hear some resistance, like, yeah, but he wouldn't come in, or yeah, but she wouldn't say that,
and they didn't believe in this.
and it's like
Mhm.
that's all right. That's resistance we have that isn't meant to belittle us or our profession.
Right, that's more than
Sometimes it's them, right? Or they want us to work a little harder. Nothing wrong with that. Skepticism really is okay.
Mhm.
We don't like to be tested, because that's not going to get you anywhere. But certainly not at our great age
I
and
was gonna say,
maturity as we come.
I was gonna cut in. I'm thinking
With our combined, 60 years of psychic mediumship.
take it down a little. I'll end on this. Somebody did say to me, and it was I had never heard it before, but they said to me, "Oh, this is your job. Maybe you should have gone to school." Now, what do my reaction was pretty obvious. I said, "Okay." So instead of just ignoring it, I have to admit I did come back with my
Mhm.
one-liners of I said, "Okay." So I have a dusty high school degree in the garage, a dusty college degree that I graduated with honors, and oh, there's a dusty master's degree too. So yeah, maybe I should get a PhD. And I did say that, I have to admit. Listen, they are dusty sitting there, but I do have them. So you can't assume what somebody does reflects their education. This is what I chose to go
And
into.
it's apples and oranges, because the
It
the
is.
the academic world is all about your intellect and your rational knowledge. And the intuition is all about the non-rational stuff. I mean, we have to interpret it with our rational mind.
Philosophy and the religions in there, but yeah, but there was an assumption, oh, you're just saying you're a psychic because you couldn't make it through school. I was like, know your audience. And I admit, I had full satisfaction going back at that person with those comments. I admit it. I did.
Or people, the automatic assumption is that it's a hobby, like it's not a real
No.
job. So
I get
therefore,
that.
you should give it away.
Right.
You
Oh,
get a lot
well,
of that.
I actually get far less than other people. I hear that from my clients, my students, other people. I don't often hear you should be doing that for free. It's a service, it's a skill.
Yeah.
But I don't hear that a lot, thank goodness.
It's been a while since I've heard
Right,
it.
that can get to a certain
I
age.
had a client call. She was a referral, and I'm sorry, he was a referral from a former client of mine, or ongoing client of mine. She had referred him, so he called me and he wanted to set up a session and asked me my prices. And I have three different prices for three different times. I do a half hour, 45 minutes, and an hour. And he said, "God, that's expensive." And I said, "Well, it's not a need. This is I recognize that I'm providing a service that is for, it's a disposable income kind of service. It's a luxury service in a way. It's not, you've got to get something, you got to get paperwork done, or you got to get something filed, or you have to take an exam. This is it's not for everybody. And, so he's like, I'm not gonna just hung up the
Okay.
phone. I was like, okay, I'm like, he's like, is anybody else around here who costs less? And I said, well, I think if you'll find, if you look around,
Yeah.
we're both about the going rates for our area.
We
And I
actually
said,
both could be higher.
yeah.
We're less than people with our experience, I think.
And I just said like, good luck.
Yeah,
Look
enjoy.
around, enjoy. I'm not gonna, certainly not gonna be bullied into lowering my prices for someone who just swore at me. So no, thanks. Don't move
When you
on.
pay $25 to the boardwalk psychic, that tells you they have a curse. If a
Yeah,
curse on you and needs another $500, maybe you'll
right,
learn.
right.
But I understand, not that this has to necessarily do what we're talking about, but I do understand if someone says, wow, that's a lot, I can't afford that, or that's not in my
Oh,
wheelhouse right now.
sure. Absolutely.
I get that totally. It's like getting a haircut. You can pay $500 or $4,500, $45.
Yeah.
I respect if someone can't afford it or can't do it. That's fine. But the rudeness,
The
yeah,
rudeness.
it's the
Yeah. The
rudeness.
rudeness and the hanging up and
Yeah.
this is all bullshit anyway, sort
Yeah,
of.
yeah,
It's
but
like,
you're calling me.
it's fine. I don't, that's fine. There are I'm the right medium and psychic for some people and not for other people. And it
Right.
doesn't have anything to do with my prices. If you don't like the sound of my voice, that's reason enough not
That's
to
right.
hire
And if
me,
you question it, it's reason enough. It's
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. And there's plenty of people and there's plenty of psychics too. Neither one of us are in competition with each other
No,
or with
never
other
has been.
psychics out there. And, there's just, I'm going to appeal to some people. I'm not going to appeal to other people. So I guess we're really joking about the people who nobody appeals to them. They're just snobs. They want to know like they want to put you down because you're not using your degree in something that makes sense for
Yeah,
them.
it's just it makes them
You
feel
know.
better to put somebody down. But I had satisfaction there with my comeback. I have to admit
That
that.
was a good one.
And, I will say, thousands over the years of clients. The vast majority, and I know you feel that way. We love the clients. They're
Yeah.
lovely people.
Yeah.
I mean, we're hyper focusing on the negative, but we wouldn't still be doing this if
Right.
there wasn't just an enormous amount of people that are just wonderful.
And even the negative isn't so negative. I mean, we're talking about it today, but it's
Yeah,
because it's kind
we
of funny
focused
where
on
we
this on
moved-
purpose.
where we
It's
moved
not
to
like we live around it every day and think about it. We decided let's talk about this for the podcast.
And it
'Cause-
is such a joy to have a client, who returns because I was here a year ago and you were right about all
Yeah.
of these things. And now, and I told all my friends or I told my mother and that like for me, that's the best indication that the work that I'm doing is worthwhile. I don't care if the legislator thinks I should make a living at this or not. I don't care if another person says it's a gift, you should give it away. I mean, like that's not, I don't care because I don't care about them, but I
You
can't
let it bother
give
you.
any energy to that,
No.
right? You gotta
That's
just
okay.
let it go.
All right.
But I love working with you.
Yes, we've been doing this for a long time.
We trade clients back and forth all
We
the time.
do.
If we get to know somebody too well,
That's
go see
true.
Carla for a few
Mhm.
years, then come on back if you want. Or if I can't get somebody in who needs something quicker and you've just had a
Mhm.
clearing in your schedule. So,
Yeah.
feel free to ask for referrals if you contact a psychic and you can't get in, because a good ethical psychic won't just try to hoard you for
That's
herself or
right.
himself. They'll spread the word
They're
around.
secure enough.
Yeah. So we love talking to you guys today. We would love to hear your experiences. Have you been that person?
Yes,
Said
have
something
you been that
snarky?
snarky? I was gonna say snarky person.
Or have you, in whatever your profession is,
Yeah, whatever.
been the recipient of that sort of, mockery or derision? Because we'd love to hear how you handle it. Sometimes we handle it with grace because we're in a good mood. Sometimes you handle it with a scalpel like you did with that person, and other times we just sort of bluntly go, yeah. Screw you, whatever.
In our heads.
So you can find us on Buzzsprout, Ethereal Material. You can find us on TikTok, Ethereal Material, YouTube, Spotify, and you can reach us on any of those
Instagram.
platforms and on Instagram as well. And you can email us directly, info@etherealmaterialpodcast.com or etherealmaterialpod@gmail.com.
Yep.
And we're so happy you tuned in and you're watching us or you're listening to us, and we're having a great time, and we're so glad you're a part of our tribe. So keep believing,
Keep questioning.
and keep in touch. Bye.
Take care. Bye.